waters off the Oregon coast. Jessica Radcliffe heard the ocean whisper her name and then it screamed. Jessica Radcliffe stood on the dock, her boots sinking into the wet wood. The air smelled of salt and rotting fish. It was early morning, and the Oregon coast was wrapped in fog so thick it felt like breathing cotton. Her fishing boat, the salty dawn, bobbed gently in the water. It was a small, weathered vessel, barely 30 feet long, with chipped blue paint and a motor that coughed like a sick dog. She'd inherited it from her dad, who died 2 years ago in a storm nobody liked to talk about. Jessica was 28, with short brown hair tucked under a knit cap and a face that looked tired even when she smiled. She didn't smile much these days. Fishing was all she knew, but the ocean hadn't been kind lately. The catches were small, the bills were big, and the bank was circling like a shark. She needed a good haul today, or she'd lose the boat. Her crew wasn't much to look at either. There was Mike, a skinny guy in his 40s with a scruffy beard and a bad knee. He smoked cheap cigarettes and complained about everything. Then there was Lila, a college kid who thought fishing was authentic but got seasick every trip. They weren't friends, just people who needed the work as much as Jessica did. Ready? Jessica called, her voice flat. Mike grunted, tossing his cigarette into the water. Lila nodded, her face already pale. They climbed aboard, and Jessica started the engine. It sputtered, then roared. The boat cut through the fog, leaving the dot behind. The ocean was calm, but something felt off. Jessica couldn't place it. The air was too still, maybe, or the gulls were too quiet. She shook it off and checked the GPS. They were heading to a spot 20 miles out, where her dad used to swear the cod were thick. She hadn't been there in years. It was deep water, cold and dark, but she was desperate. An hour into the trip, the fog didn't lift. It got thicker, curling around the boat like fingers. Lila was at the railing, clutching a bucket. Mike was below, fiddling with the nets. Jessica stood at the wheel, her eyes scanning the water. That's when she saw it a ripple, too big for a fish, too smooth for a wave. It was gone in a second. Mike, she called. You see that? He poked his head up. See what? Something. In the water. Big. He squinted, then shrugged. Probably a seal. Don't spook yourself, Jess. She didn't answer. Her dad used to talk about things in the ocean, things that weren't fish or whales, or anything you could name. He'd get this look in his eyes, like he'd seen something he couldn't unsee. Jessica always thought it was just stories. Now, she wasn't so sure. By noon, they reached the spot. The water was black, like it swallowed the light. Jessica cut the engine, and the silence hit hard. No waves, no birds, just the creak of the boat. Lila looked nervous, her hands twisting the hem of her jacket. Mike started lowering the nets, muttering about the cold dot. Then the boat rocked, not a little. Sway hard, like something slammed it. Lila yelped, grabbing the rail. Mike cursed, dropping the net. Jessica's heart jumped. She ran to the side, peering into the water. Nothing, just endless black. What was that? Lila whispered. Wave, maybe, Mike said, but his voice was shaky. That wasn't a wave. Jessica said. She leaned over, her eyes straining. The water was still again, but she felt it's something watching. Her skin prickled, like the air was charged before a storm. Start the engine, Mike said. Let's move. Jessica nodded, but before she could, the boat rocked again, harder. Something scraped along the hull, a slow, grinding sound, like nails on a chalkboard. Lila screamed. Mike stumbled, grabbing a rope to stay upright. Jessica froze, her hands tight on the wheel. Jess, get us out of here, Mike yelled. She turned the key. The engine whined, but didn't start. She tried again. Nothing. The scraping stopped, and the silence was worse. Then, from the fog, came a sound, a low, deep hum, like a whale song but wrong. It vibrated in Jessica's chest, making her teeth ache. What the hell is that? Mike said, his eyes wide. Lila was crying now, curled up by the railing. Jessica's hands shook as she tried the engine again. Still nothing. The hum grew louder, closer. The water rippled again, and this time, she saw it a black shape, massive, gliding under the surface. It was too big to be a whale, too fast to be anything she knew. "Orca?" Mike asked, his voice barely a whisper. "No," Jessica said. She didn't know why, but she was sure. Orcas didn't move like that. They didn't sound like the dot the shape circled the boat, slow and deliberate. Jessica's stomach twisted. She thought of her dad, his stories, his warnings about the deep. She thought of the way he'd died. His boat found in pieces, no body ever recovered. The hum stopped. The water went still. For a moment, Jessica thought it was over. Then the boat lurched, tilting so hard Lila slid across the deck. Something hit them from below, and this time, it didn't let go. The boat rocked again, harder this time, and Jessica's knees hit the deck. The salty dawn groaned, wood creaking like it might split. Lila was screaming, her voice high and sharp, cutting through the fog. Mike clung to a rope, his face pale as the mist. The engine was dead, and the black shape in the water was still, circling. "Jess, do something," Mike shouted, his voice cracking. "I'm trying," Jessica yelled back. She turned the key again, but the engine only whined, a pathetic sputter. The air smelled of diesel and salt thick in her throat. She stumbled to the engine hatch, yanking it open. The motor was a mess of wires and rust, but nothing looked broken. Yet it wouldn't start. Lila was curled up by the railing, sobbing. "We're gonna die, aren't we?" "Shut up, Lila," Mike snapped, limping toward Jessica. "What's wrong with the engine?" "I don't know," Jessica said, her hands shaking as she checked the fuel line. "It's like something's jamming it." The boat lurched again, tilting to the right. Something heavy slammed the hull, and a loud crack echoed below. Water sprayed up, cold and stinging, soaking Jessica's jacket. She ran to the side, peering into the black water. The shape was there, bigger than before, moving slow and deliberate. It was long, maybe 30 feet, with a dorsal fin like an orca's but jagged, like it had been torn. "That's no orca," Jessica whispered. Her dad's stories flooded back tales of things in the deep, older than whales, that hunted boats for sport. She laughed them off as a kid. Now, her chest tightened. Mike grabbed her arm. "You knew about this. You brought us out here." "I didn't know," she shouted, pulling free. "I thought it was just stories. Stories don't hit boats," Mike yelled. Lila was crying louder now, rocking back and forth. Jessica ignored them and grabbed the radio. "Mayday, mayday. This is Salty Dawn. We're 20 miles off Tillamook Bay. Need help." Static crackled back, no voices. She tried again, but the radio was dead, like the engine. The fog thickened, swallowing the horizon. The air was colder now, biting through her gloves. That hum came again, low and deep, vibrating in her bones. It wasn't a whale song. It was wrong, like a machine mixed with something alive. The water rippled, and the shape rose closer to the surface. Jessica saw it clearly now, a massive black fin, scarred and twisted, attached to a body that shimmered like oil. Its eyes, white and blank, locked on her for a second before it dove. "We're stuck," Mike said, his voice low. "It's not letting us go." Jessica's heart pounded. She thought of her dad, his boat in pieces, his body gone. Was this what got him? The creature hit again, and the salty dawn tilted. Water pooling on the deck. Lila screamed as a crate slid, pinning her leg. Mike ran to help, but Jessica stayed frozen, staring at the water. The fin broke the surface, circling closer, and she knew this thing wasn't just hunting. It was playing. Word count for part 2. Approximately 600 words condensed. Full version would expand to approximately 4,000 words with more detail on the boat's damage, crews, fear, and Jessica's memories. Discussion for part 3. Part 2 escalates the danger with the creature's aggress. series of attacks, stranding the crew by disabling the boat and radio. The tension between Jessica, Mike, and Lila grows, and the creature is revealed as something unnatural, tying into Jessica's dad's stories. The dull tone is maintained through focus on practical details, engine failure, radio static, while building horror through sensory cues and the creature's eerie presence. For Part 3, I plan to push the horror further. The creature will attack again, causing serious damage, maybe cracking the hull or dragging the boat off course. Lila's injury will worsen, creating a moral dilemma for Jessica: save Lila or focus on survival. Mike's anger will boil over, leading to a reckless decision, like trying to fight the creature. Jessica will uncover a clue about the creature's nature, perhaps boarding new discussion for Part 3 ***. Part 2 has been written, escalating the tension with the creature's attacks and the crew's growing panic. Now, let's plan Part 3. My idea is to intensify the horror. The creature will strike again, possibly cracking the hull or dragging the boat deeper into the fog, isolating them further. Lila's leg injury will worsen, forcing Jessica to choose between helping her or focusing on the boat's survival. Mike's frustration will peak, leading to a reckless act like trying to confront the creature with a harpoon or flared gun. Jessica will find a clue about the creature, perhaps a strange marking on the boat or a memory of her dad's warnings, hinting at its unnatural origins. The dull tone will continue through mundane details: repair attempts, cold weather, limited supplies to ground the horror in realism. The salty dawn was tilting, water sloshing over the deck. Jessica's boots slipped as she ran to Lila, who was pinned under a crate, her leg twisted at a bad angle. Lila's face was white, her screams now whimpers. The fog was so thick, Jessica could barely see Mike, who was cursing and kicking at the engine hatch. Lila, hold on, Jessica said, shoving the crate off. Lila gasped, clutching her leg. Blood seeped through her jeans, dark and sticky. Jessica's stomach turned, but she tore off her scarf and tied it around Lila's thigh. It hurts, Lila whispered, tears streaking her face. I know, Jessica said, her voice tight. She didn't know how bad the injury was, but they had no first aid kit, no way to call for help. The radio was dead, the engine silent. Mike stomped over, his eyes wild. This is your fault, Jess. You brought us to this cursed spot. Shut up, Mike, Jessica snapped. Help me with her. He didn't move, just glared. The boat shuddered again, a deep thud echoing from below. The hull groaned, and a sharp crack split the air. Jessica froze. Water was seeping through the deck, cold and black, pulling around her boots. It's breaking the boat, Lila sobbed. Jessica ran to the side, peering into the water. The black fin was back, slicing through the fog. The creature's body was massive, its skin slick and unnatural, like it didn't belong in the ocean. The hum came again, louder, rattling her teeth. Mike grabbed a flare gun from a locker. I'm done running, he yelled, aiming at the water. Don't, Jessica shouted, but he fired. The flare hissed, lighting the fog red. It hit the water, and the creature dove, the fin vanishing. For a moment, it was quiet, then the boat lurched, dragged sideways. Jessica fell, slamming her shoulder into the railing. Lila screamed as the crate slid again, trapping her. The creature surfaced, closer now. Its head was huge, with a jagged mouth and blank white eyes that seemed to glow. It wasn't an orca, it was wrong, too big, too twisted. Jessica's heart pounded as she remembered her dad's journal, tucked away in her cabin. He'd drawn something like this, with strange symbols scratched beside it. He'd called it the black fin. Mike, stop, Jessica yelled. But he was loading another flare, his hands shaking. The creature rammed the boat again, and a plank split, water gushing in. The salty dawn was sinking, slowly but surely. Jessica crawled to Lila, pulling her free. We need to patch the hull, she said, but her voice sounded hollow. There was no time, no tools. The fog pressed in, the hum growing louder, like a chant. The creature circled, its fin cutting the water like a blade. Jessica looked at Mike, then Lila, then the water. Her dad's words echoed. The deep doesn't forget. She didn't know what it meant, but she felt it now. This thing wasn't just hunting them. It knew her. Asterisk, the salty dawn was sinking. Water gushed through the cracked hull, pulling around Jessica's ankles, cold as ice. Lila lay on the deck, her legs swollen and purple under the scarf tourniquet. She was barely conscious, muttering about home. Mike was at the railing, clutching the flare gun, his eyes darting to the water. The fog was thicker, the air heavy with salt and something sour, like decay. "We can't stay here," Jessica said, her voice shaking. "We need the life raft." Mike spun her out. "You think the thing will let us go? It's waiting." "We're sinking, Mike," Jessica shouted. "We don't have a choice." The boat groaned, tilting further. Jessica dragged Lila toward the life raft, a small inflatable tied to the stern. Mike hesitated, then helped, his hands clumsy with fear. They untied the raft and tossed it into the water. It bobbed, looking tiny against the black waves dot as they lowered Lila in. The creature struck. The boat lurched, and a massive black shape broke the surface, its jagged fin slicing through the fog. Its mouth open, revealing rows of sharp, uneven teeth. Mike fired the flare gun, the red light streaking into the creature's side. It roared a sound like metal grinding and dove, splashing water that soaked them. "Get in," Jessica yelled, pushing Lila into the raft. Mike jumped in after, and Jessica followed, her hands slipping on the wet ropes. The salty dawn tilted sharply, half submerged now. Jessica grabbed the oars, rowing hard. The fog swallowed the boat, leaving them alone in the raft. The hum returned, louder, vibrating through the rubber floor. Lila whimpered, clutching Jessica's arm. Mike was muttering curses, reloading the flare gun. Jessica's bag had fallen into the raft. She dug inside and found her dad's journal, its pages damp but intact. She flipped it open, her hands trembling. There was a drawing of the creature, black, twisted, with those blank white eyes. Next to it, her dad had written, "The black fin hunts what it knows. It remembers." Strange symbols lined the page, like scratches from a knife. "What's that?" Mike snapped, grabbing the journal. "Your dad knew about this thing. He warned me," Jessica said, her voice low. "He said the ocean holds grudges." Mike threw the journal down. "You knew and brought us out here. You're as crazy as he was." "Stop it," Jessica shouted. Lila was crying again, her breath shallow. The raft jerked, dragged backward. The creature's fin rose, circling them. Mike stood, aiming the flare gun. "I'll kill it," he yelled, firing. The flare missed, sizzling into the water. The creature rammed the raft, and Mike fell overboard, screaming. Jessica lunged for him, but the water swallowed his cries. The fin dove, and he was gone. Lila screamed, clinging to Jessica. The raft spun, pulled deeper into the fog. Jessica gripped the journal, her dad's words echoing. "It remembers." The creature's hum grew louder, and Jessica felt it her name, whispered in the sound. Word count for part 4. Approximately 600 words condensed. Full version would expand to approximately 4,000 words, with more detail on the sinking boat, Mike's fate, and the journal's clues. Discussion for part 5. Part 4 ramps up the horror with the boat sinking, Mike's gruesome fate, and the crew's desperate move to the life raft. The dull tone persists through practical details, the raft's flimsiness, the journal's damp pages, while the creature's attack and Jessica's discovery of her dad's warnings deepen the dread. The creature's personal connection to Jessica is hinted at, tying to the hook line. For part 5, I plan to conclude the story. The creature will pursue the raft, forcing Jessica to confront it directly to save Lila. The journal will reveal more about the creature, a local legend tied to her family, perhaps a curse her dad triggered years ago. Jessica will make a desperate choice, possibly sacrificing something to appease or defeat the creature, leading to a bittersweet or ambiguous ending. The fog will clear, but the resolution will leave questions about the creature's nature. The dull tone will continue with focus on survival tasks rowing, tending to Lila amid the horror. Asterisk, the life raft rocked in the black water, the fog so thick Jessica could barely see her hands. Lila lay curled up, her breath shallow, her legs swollen and hot under the blood-soaked scarf. The creature's hum vibrated through the raft, low and angry, like it was speaking. Jessica clutched her dad's journal, its pages smeared with salt, water. The cold bit her fingers, and the air smelled of rot, stronger now, like the ocean was decaying. She flipped through the journal, her eyes scanning her dad's shaky handwriting. The black fin hunts the Radcliffe blood. It's older than the sea we took from it, and it never forgets. There was a story about her great-grandfather, a fisherman who killed a strange creature and took its teeth for trophies. Days later, his boat was found in pieces. The symbols in the journal match marks Jessica had seen scratched into the salty dawn's hull. "It's after me," Jessica whispered, her voice lost in the hum. Lila stirred, moaning. The raft jerked, and the creature's fin broke the surface, circling closer. Its white eyes glowed through the fog, locking on Jessica. She felt it again, her name, woven into the hum. The raft spun, dragged by an unseen force. Lila screamed, weak and hoarse. Jessica grabbed the oar, her hands shaking. "Stay with me, Lila," she said, rowing hard. The raft barely moved, like the water was fighting her. She looked at the journal again. Her dad had written, "Give it back what it wants." The creature rammed the raft, and water splashed over the side. Lila slid, crying out as her leg hit the edge. Jessica dropped the oar and held her, but the raft was leaking, air hissing out. The creature surfaced, its jagged mouth open, teeth glinting like knives. It was huge, bigger than any whale, its body shimmering with an oily sheen. Jessica's mind raced. Her dad's knife was in her bag, the one he'd carried since she was a kid. She pulled it out, its blade etched with the same symbols from the journal, her great-grandfather's trophy. Tooth was tied to the handle. "I'm sorry," she whispered, not sure if she meant it for Lila, her dad, or the creature. She cut the tooth free and held it up. The hum stopped, the creature's eyes fixed on the tooth. Unblinking, Jessica threw it into the water. The creature dove, and the raft stopped spinning. The fog began to lift, thin rays of sunlight breaking through. Lila was still, her breaths faint. Jessica checked her pulse weak. But there, the water stayed calm, the creature gone. Jessica rowed toward a distant light, maybe a ship, maybe the coast. Her hands bled from gripping the oar. But she didn't stop. The journal lay open, its pages flapping. The last line read, "It'll come back." As the raft drifted, Jessica heard the ocean whisper her name again. She didn't look back.